Welcome to Exam Exemptions version 3.0. You will get an email with a link to your school's exam exemptions and work in progress form at the beginning of the school year and 2 weeks before the end of the term. You will also get an email the day after you check or uncheck any of the green or blue boxes on the form. The link to the Google form should open in any web browser. You do not need to have a Google account. If you click on the link and get a message saying you need permission to access the link, log out of all Google accounts and click on the link again. This is an old bug that affects some users. No need to log out of your accounts if it isn't affecting you. When you are finished checking or unchecking boxes on your school's forms, you do not need to save anything, download anything, or email anything. The form automatically saves after every change you make. If later you need to add or remove exam exemptions and/or WIPs, then just click on the link again to make any needed changes to the same form. You can request or remove an exam exemption or work in progress at any time by checking the box, so long as there is a box to check. You will have 3 weeks to request a work in progress, starting 2 weeks before the end of the term and 1 week after. After you make a WIP request, the status will show processing until 5 days after the student work end date. This gives teachers time to finish all grading. When we're processing the request, if it's on a day that we're in the office, your request will be processed from 3 to 8 p.m. After 8 p.m., you should see the Google form has updated, letting you know if the request was accepted or rejected by the computer. Please don't try to make any edits between 3 and 8 p.m. Central Time. If the checkbox is blue, then you can check it to request an exam exemption or a work in progress for that student. You should get an email, but you can also check the form the next day. If the checkbox is green, then your request was approved. If denied, the reason will be shown in red text. Reasons you might not see a checkbox with exam exemptions: there's no midterm for the course, the exam was already taken, or the student has withdrawn or completed the course. Reasons you might not see a checkbox with the work in progress: either it's early, late, withdrawn, low grade, or low work. With the low grade or low work, either of the two things will trigger it. So a student needs to get both of those up to the point where it'll give a blue box. So the grade average for term 1 and term 2 must be greater than 40, and they must have completed at least 30% in term 1 and 30% in term 2 based on that request. Here's an example form of what it looks like. As you can see, if there's red text over here, there will be no boxes that appear. However, if the text is blue, there is a checkbox here, which means that you can make a request. So if I check that and come back the next day and it was approved, it should turn to green. If not, there will probably be a reason here explaining why it wasn't approved. So the first section tells you about the section, the course, the portion, term, student name, and work end date. This little section tells you about exam exemptions. These 2 columns are for the midterm. These 2 columns are for the final. And the last 4 columns tell you about the WIP. You have the request range date, the date range that the student will actually be able to work if the WIP is approved. This would be check boxes if you could do it. But in some cases, the students may have withdrawn or completed, or it may be too early to request. Then you'd have to wait until the date range where you can actually request it to come before you'll get a box that you can check. Anytime you make a check, if you look up here, you should see afterwards this will change up here. So it'll change quickly to say it's saving. And then when it's all done, it'll say all changes saved in the drive. So if you look for those changes, you can tell when it's done saving and when it's safe to actually leave the page. Another thing to look for is up here at the top. It'll tell you the date that it was last updated on. If it's got an older date, it means that we haven't processed the data yet, and you'll have to wait until we process it to see what happens. Make sure too that up here it's got the name of your school on your form and that you're actually editing your school's students. If you get a different form, then you need to contact your support center so that they can send you the correct form. At 3 o'clock, the site closes. Everything blacks out and it says, please check back later. This is to tell you don't make any changes. If you need any help, please send an email to ACESS Reports or your support center. Thank you very much.